From turning Dumbledore cranky
Harry Potter!
to making major changes to the Triwizard Tournament. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire ain't exactly a copycat adaptation of the book it's based on. But what did the filmmakers decide to change?
Everyone loves a rebel, Harry.
The Dumbledore of the Harry Potter books is cooler than a polar bear's toenails. Even when the situation is serious and deadly, he tends to stay level-headed and calm, like the wise old grandpa we all wish we had during our awkward teenage years. Unsurprisingly, the beloved Hogwarts headmaster remains this way in the Goblet of Fire novel. Even though the book version of Dumbledore is concerned about Harry being put into the Triwizard Tournament, he doesn't let his temper get the better of him. In the movie, however, Dumbledore has a good old-fashioned hissy fit.
Harry Potter! No. No. Harry Potter!
He even sprints faster than Usain Bolt as a result.
Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
No, sir.
You asked one of the oldest students to do it for you?
No, sir.
You're absolutely sure?
This is kinda out of character for the elderly wizard, considering that he was fairly mellow in the previous films, but at least his overblown reaction turned him into a meme sensation. If anything, he should have been more concerned about Cedric Diggory for entering the tournament. We all saw how the hunky Hufflepuff heartthrob wasn't cut out for the event when the going got tough. Elsewhere, some characters were completely stripped back for cinematic purposes. As is the case in the novel, Rita Skeeter is depicted as a complete a-hole who makes up lies for the sake of a scandalous newspaper story.
Speaking of your parents, were they alive? How do you think they'd feel? Proud or concerned that your attitude shows at best a pathological need for attention?
That said, her role is much smaller in the movie. Not only does her smear campaign against Harry receive much less focus, but the film doesn't mention how she's capable of turning into a beetle. In the book, that's how she spies on people to obtain sensitive and private information. In fact, she's the most literal example of the press bugging someone for a story. Still, the few scenes she's in establish her as a liar and a menace, and that's all she ever really was in the book. Speaking of pests, let's talk about one of Voldemort's homies. Barty Crouch Jr. is let off easily for his crimes in the movie.
Hello, Father.
You are no son of mine.
Sure, it's clear that he's being sent to Azkaban, and it's implied that bad things will happen to him there. In the book, though, the Dementors give him one of their soul-sucking smooches, turning him into a hollow version of his former self. The movie doesn't show us the kiss, however, which was just a coward move if you ask me. While the Goblet of Fire movie took some creative liberties with some characters' personalities and abilities, it also had no issue leaving some folks out completely. Now, don't get me wrong, no one thinks about Ludo Bagman whenever the Harry Potter saga is mentioned, but the head of the Department of Magical Games and Sports does have an important role in the novel. He helped set up and judge the Triwizard Tournament, so he could have factored into the flick. But the Goblet of Fire doesn't even give the guy a cameo. Ludo was also a suspected Death Eater in the book, and that always opens the door for some interesting storytelling. Plus, when you remember how the Goblet of Fire opens with the Dark Lord's minions wreaking havoc at the Quidditch World Cup, adding Ludo to the mix could have added some mystery and drama. Now all we can do is daydream about Ludo and wonder what could have been. Wizards weren't the only casualties of the chopping block, go. Do you guys remember Winky the house elf? She's a standout player in the Goblet of Fire book. She even shares some of the Crouch family's darkest secrets with our heroes. Unfortunately, this leads to her being fired and getting depressed, but she still aids a good cause at the end of the day. However, the movie couldn't find room for Winky, which was a missed opportunity since self-loathing, heavy-drinking house elves don't show up in a lot of movies. Her absence also meant that one of Hermione's most interesting storylines from the book wasn't included either. The novel also saw Hermione form the Society for the Promotion of Elvish Welfare, which causes some outrage as the wizarding community doesn't want to give up their slaves. Heck, even the house elves aren't big on the idea. This could have been a great addition to the Goblet of Fire movie, as it showcased some huge character development for Miss Granger. The storyline is a testament to her intelligence, caring nature, and activism. Then again, house elves just weren't required for this flick. Even Dobby was omitted from the Goblet of Fire, all because they wanted to give Neville Longbottom more screen time. You probably saw that scene in which Neville gave Harry some gillyweed so the boy wizard could breathe underwater during the Triwizard task with the scary mermaids.
For an hour.
Most likely.
Most likely.
Well, there is some debate among herbologists as to the effects of freshwater versus saltwater.
You're telling me this now?
In the book, Dobby is responsible for telling Harry about the magical plant, further proving that he always has the boy wizard's back. Of course, giving Neville this honor in the movie was a smart move. He became an important character in the subsequent sequels, so having him give Harry some helpful advice really helped legitimize his character as a credible player. The gillyweed part wasn't the only slight change that the movie made to the Triwizard Tournament either. For a start, the foreign students from Beauxbatons and Durmstrang are slightly different. Here, Beauxbatons is depicted as an all-girls school, while Durmstrang is all about the boys. This isn't the case in the books, as both educational establishments are home to every gender. I guess the filmmakers just wanted to establish Hogwarts as the most open-minded school of them all. The Triwizard tasks also played out differently in the film. Let's talk about the dragon scene. In the book, the beast is all chained up and doesn't escape from its captivity. In the movie, though, the creature breaks free of its shackles and chases Harry through the sky. This certainly adds some drama to the proceedings. However, on the flip side of the coin, the movie skips past some of the more dramatic elements of the original Triwizard Tournament's third task. There's no denying that Harry's trip through the maze in the movie is an intense experience. But it could have been even crazier if it featured the Sphinx, boggarts, and various other obstacles that appeared during this sequence in the novel. Adding the Sphinx alone would have been worth the price of a rental. Still, the filmmakers seemed in a rush to get to the Goblet of Fire's thrilling climax, and who can blame them for that? If you liked this video, be sure to check out our other deep dives into the Harry Potter movies versus the books.